Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Doug Wright Show here at KSL News Radio. And we really do need to open the program today with a little different tone in the music.
He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes around the store. He hath loosed the fatal lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
Well, this choir has been called by George W. Bush a national treasure. It was called by Ronald Reagan America's Choir, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
The world renown of this great choir is nothing short of spectacular. And to think that they're right here in our backyard, and we so often are entertained by them, inspired by them, and just what an amazing honor for this choir not to have only been honored by an invitation to this inauguration, but when you go back and you look at the history of it, it goes back a long, long way. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir first performed at a presidential inauguration at the invitation of Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson won the state of Utah, you might recall, in 1964, and the choir was invited to perform at that inauguration in 1965. And then the choir, and honestly, I've been so focused on, I just remember it was indelible when the choir performed at the inauguration of Ronald Reagan. But they performed at the first inauguration of Richard Nixon. They have performed at the first inaugural for every Republican president since Richard Nixon in 1969, Ronald Reagan in 1981, George Herbert Walker Bush in 1989, and George W. Bush in 2001. The choir sang "This Is My Country" for Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon, and performed the Star-Spangled Banner with the Marine Corps Band for Richard Nixon. It performed the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which you just heard, for Ronald Reagan, repeating that performance for George W. Bush, along with God Bless America and America the Beautiful. And so it's been kind of driving me crazy because I've heard rumblings about this for the past several weeks, and today finally made official. And I appreciate my friend Don Pay joining us on the line. He's been our person to talk to regarding the Trump campaign initially, and now the Trump transition here in the state of Utah. And Don, welcome to the program. It's finally official. We can talk about it.
Yeah, Doug, it's pretty exciting. One of my son's friends who lives in Brazil seen it a half hour ago, so it's worldwide news.
Yeah, it is worldwide news right now. We started, you and I have talked about this now for 2-3 weeks, and it's been under wraps. I was surprised that this secret was kept as well as it was, considering that, nothing was formally done, but the offering, the invitation, and then the acceptance and so on, this has been a fairly well-kept secret.
Yeah, it has. So, but it's good to get everything done right and launch it. And now it's going to be a wonderful event for the country and for the state of Utah, and also for the choir and the church.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You and I chatted yesterday on the air, both of us knowing that this was out there percolating. I'm really excited that we can talk about it now. When did you first hear about it? You and I have talked about it for some time, but when did you first hear about it?
Well, in the Deseret News article, when Donald Trump Jr. came in September, and we did a tour of Temple Square and the choir, he said, "Hey, when my dad wins, we'd love to have the choir sing for us at the inauguration." And he also mentioned, that his dad would love to spend 10 hours at Temple Square seeing how they built the tabernacle and the temple, because that's what these guys are in their DNA. They're builders. And he was just, fascinated how they built these structures back in the 1800s. And, Don Jr. and I've had many discussions. In fact, they say that's why Utah is such a prosperous place business-wise, is you have a great education, you have nuclear core families, you go off on missions around the world, you understand global economies, and you don't party much, you just work and have fun. So they get it, and it's been in the works. And I guess the short thing, Doug, they do what they say they're going to do, and they mentioned this in September, and I knew it was going to happen for a long time.
Yeah, it really is exciting, and I appreciated you sharing some of the background of it, even, as of 2-3 weeks ago. I can't remember when you and I first talked, but again, sometimes these secrets are difficult to keep, and this one has been under wraps, but finally it is announced today. Have you heard any idea? I understand that they'll be performing with the Marine Corps Band. Is that correct?
And I don't, I'm not sure. That's obviously up to the choir, President Jarrett, and the choir. I just, from what I understand, it's going to be a pretty prominent location and spot within the inauguration ceremony. So it's not going to be riding on a float, as I think some of the past. This is going to be during this, the 1 hour swearing-in ceremony. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, trying to get 360 members on a float along with a band to accompany them could be a little difficult, although that has been done. I was talking with Tim Hughes, who was back to the inauguration of George Herbert Walker Bush in 1991. So have you heard any rumblings? Did Don Jr. or anybody talk about favorites of the choir that perhaps might be considered? Traditionally, they've stuck to pretty much a patriotic repertoire, including the Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America, America the Beautiful. And I'm not sure if they actually sang God Bless America or not, but certainly the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Any clue at all?
That's a question for President Jarrett and Matt Wilberg. I'm sure there's been some discussions. And, I just I know you like interesting stuff, but maybe I heard maybe Mike Pence gets to make the decision.
Really?
He's in conjunction with, the whole committee. But, excuse me, Mike Pence has been out to Utah and loves choir, as does the Trump family. So, hey, there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Right, and Mike Pence has a great relationship with Governor Gary Herbert, too. Governor Herbert speaks
Governor Herbert.
very, very highly. And as a matter of fact, we called the governor, and he is on a plane back to Utah right now after the Poinsettia Bowl. So we won't be able to talk with the governor right now. And I understand you're down in that neck of woods, too.
Yeah, we have a family wedding reception, so we've had a long time plan, and I'm sitting here looking out the window at a big rainstorm. So.
Oh, wow. And I understand that while you weren't able to be at the game, you caught the game last night. That was quite a performance by the Cougars.
Gotta love my Cougars, absolutely. The hotel's full of Wyoming Cowboys here, so
yeah,
but that's okay. They're my friends too.
Yeah, I'll never forget this one little story. I had my boys with me at a ball game once, and for some reason, my son was upset, and I couldn't stop him from crying. I had to go out, and I had to do a halftime thing at then we just simply called it Cougar Stadium. But my son was probably 6 or 7 years old, and he was sitting there just kind of whimpering and so on. And we ended up right by the Cowboys bench. And I walked out, and just before I walked out, one of the Cowboys, all decked out, the whole deal, pads, uniform, the whole deal, just looked over, and he looked at my son and goes, "Hey, little dude." And my son just was enamored, and all of a sudden, and I just thought, how cool was that for that guy to do that? So, yeah, we're big fans of the Cowboys, but I'm so glad that the Cougars won. And, Don, thank you for keeping us, collectively, me, in the loop on these things, and I'm glad we can finally talk about it. And it's been officially announced, and we're looking for an opportunity very, very soon. We've been in contact with the choir this morning, and so that should be happening before too long. But, Don, have a good trip. Have a safe trip. Hope the wedding goes well, and we'll see you in a little while.
Let's bring our country together, Doug. We got a lot of things to work on.
Yeah, we do have a lot of things to work on. Don Pay, and Don, of course, has been spearheading, along with others too, Ron Fox, others, here in the state of Utah, the Donald Trump effort, going back to the campaigning and now the transitioning, and then the announcement that was made official today. This has been killing me, by the way, to sit on this, because, like I said, it's been at least 2, maybe 3 weeks since I found out about it. And wow, very cool. Very cool. And we'll look for an opportunity. We thought that would happen this half hour. But apparently there are some final little arrangements and so on that are being made before we will talk officially with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir about this. But we have been told that opportunity will be coming very, very soon, and we'll have it for you here on The Doug Wright Show at KSL News Radio.